What's up, everybody? It's Sam with Rowdy Alternative, and today we're with Alex Rogers. How you doing, man?
Hey, good man. How you doing? Appreciate you
Good,
having me.
good. So, Alex is a singer-songwriter out of South Carolina, I believe. Is that correct?
Originally, yeah. I live in the Florida Panhandle now. So
Oh, okay, right on.
from
That's
be
quite the move.
yeah, for sure. It's like from beach to beach kind of. Yeah, I grew up in a small town called Loris, kind of right outside of North Myrtle Beach.
Nice.
Um, so that kind of coastal area of South Carolina.
Okay, I got you. Hell yeah. So, what have you been up to, man? I know it's the beginning of the new year, so I'm sure people are getting going, whether it be shows or anything. So, what have you been up to?
Yeah, most recently I did the 30A Songwriters Festival. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's I don't know this for a fact, but it's got to be one of the largest in the world at this point.
Yeah.
It's just like enormous. There's almost 200 artists and 30 venues and all the stuff. So just wrapped that up uh 2 weekends ago, I want to say,
Okay.
mid-January. So that kind of started us off, and then yeah, I just been playing, writing as much as humanly possible, and kind of trying to get ahead of things for sure.
Hell yeah, man. So I guess just so people get familiar with you, we start at the beginning, man. So like, what got you into music, maybe, or what like made you want to make that step to make that a career of yours?
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, long-winded answer probably, but like
That's fine.
what initially got me into music was well, my first of all, my dad was a guitar player growing up, all by ear, unfortunately, so he was like a horrific teacher. So I kind of had to like just figure it out, watch him and try to do it, but um so I've always been interested in music even from like, 3 and 4 years old, just watching
Mhm.
him play. Um But then, I the first time I ever played in front of people was church, which is, probably relatively common.
Mhm.
Um, and then, yeah, it's always been kind of in the back of my mind, and I sort of am doing things in reverse because I kind of, went to college and took a corporate job and did all the did all the white picket fence type stuff, and then, in the last 4 or 5 years, kind of decided to kind of dive into music specifically, but hard to answer because it's always been there,
Mhm.
um, just kind of in the back of my mind, and then as of late it just started like, writing specifically started kind of clicking for me, and um yeah, I just decided to kind of hit the ground running. Better
That's
late than
awesome.
never.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's funny you say that because I hear like from all these different artists about when they like actually like really dove into it to like this is what I want to do, and it could either be they right out of high school or like right out of college and so on. So
Yeah.
did you find it like was it hard to I don't know if catch up is the right term, but to like really get back into the swing of things like that?
Not not really, to be honest. I
Hmm.
mean, so I guess I should have said like was in a band I was in a band my last like basically full year of college.
Hmm.
So it kind of bit me then. I was like, let's, you know, while we're here, while I'm with a bunch of like-minded guys and can, can play in basically any bar down there, let's go ahead and give it a shot. And then that kind of spawned. I moved to Atlanta initially after college, and I was in a band for 4 or 5 years there. Um, so yeah, I mean that in terms of performing, I guess, like I don't
Hmm.
feel like I necessarily had to catch up, but yeah, like getting into the who's who, if you will, and all of that kind of stuff, particularly in Nashville, definitely, I had to sort of catch up in that regard, but it turns out it happens kind of fast, if you meet the right people and are doing the right things and just playing as much as possible. Um, so yeah, yes and no, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And and it sounds like I mean, hell, like if you've been in Atlanta and then like were from South Carolina, it sounds like you've been all over the place, correct? Kind of
For
like just
sure.
throughout this. So, I guess if you could describe whichever scene, like because you have like the Texas scene, you have the Nashville scene, you have all these different scenes, and where you like really got your legs, I guess, like wherever that may be along your career, like how would you describe that scene? Like, was it like a real community aspect to it, or was it kind of hard to get into? How was that whole process?
Yeah, so I'd say well, the band in college is kind of a, an anomaly because like your fans are built into, all your friends and
Yeah.
the other four guys' friends. Um, so that was just like kind of, getting ramped up, more or less. And then, yeah, in Atlanta, kind of the same, but the Atlanta music scene, is, or you may not know, but it's just kind of like a little bit all over the place, like super
Yeah.
eclectic. Um, so you can kind of hear and see any sort of genre you can imagine in that place at a given time. Unlike Nashville, when it's, Nashville's obviously, getting a little broader as we speak, probably. But typically, your mind goes to like country or,
Mm-hmm.
something in that vein. But yeah, eh, yeah, Atlanta specifically definitely like probably informed the way I sing, maybe more so than anything else. That and South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of, yeah, it's hard to say which scene more so I like identify with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if that was an answer
No,
or
that
just
makes
a
sense.
dissertation, but
No, that makes sense, man. And like when you mentioned Atlanta scene, I'm from like Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, so our
okay,
scene here really is just bands passing through. We don't have like a present scene, but
sure,
I've gotten more familiar with some of the artists, at least of recent, out of Atlanta, and it's pretty popping, man. I would
definitely.
never think I never thought about it, but like the rock scene too, especially there's some guys that are just phenomenal coming out of there.
Yeah, 100%.
Hold on. Still
It's where,
got you?
yeah, it seems like
Okay,
it's
cool,
where a
cool.
lot
Sorry.
of, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it seems like where a lot of people kind of get their start, whether they're
Mhm.
from there or not, regardless of
Yep,
whatever their genre they're trying to, approach.
for sure.
So it's cool.
Yeah, and with your music, from what I've listened to, I was kind of surprised. I didn't know what to expect, and like with like the Ray's Rowdy like crowd, I get a lot of. It's usually either country or rock that I get on
Sure.
here, and hearing your stuff, like I was kind of like surprised. It's hard to put a label on it, which we don't need labels nowadays. You could sound like anything you want to sound, whether it's good or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess how would you, if you could, describe your own sound if you had to put any kind of label on it or anything?
Yeah, it's almost impossible, It's like
Yeah.
you just string together some adjectives and hope for the
Yep.
best, I guess. Um, I don't know. I started kind of using the phrase soul Carolina.
Mm.
Um, because I don't know, I tend to my, the way I sing kind of lends itself to more soul, southern rock type
Yeah.
sound.
Hmm.
Definitely like my influences. But then, you know, there are hints of country because I'm from South Carolina. I can't help the way I say some things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just I would say like southern rock, alternative country, maybe a hint of blues.
Hmm.
Um,
The
yeah,
soul aspect I could see for sure. That was my first thought when I listened to,
okay,
especially I think it was your second one you put out.
yeah, hand me down.
Yeah, Hand Me Down. Yeah, it was definitely Hand Me Down. I played that one first, and I was like, it's different. Like
Yeah,
soulful, different. I don't know what to
totally.
call it, but
Yeah, I'm with you. When people ask me that, I normally say like, what do you think? I
yeah,
just
for
gather.
sure.
I'm trying to gather all the words, and I'm just gonna make a collage of all these adjectives and call it my genre.
For sure, man. So, is it as an artist, whether it's more on the business side of things or what, I don't know. You could probably tell me that. When you do have a sound like that, do you have trouble finding like a market for it? Because as you said, Nashville, a lot of it leans country, and I'm just going to say Atlanta because we were talking about it. Maybe Atlanta
Sure.
leans more rock. Like, do you ever find it kind of difficult to find not really an audience, but like a specific like I guess market to push it towards or anything like that?
Well, not I mean, not necessarily. Well, obviously now these days with Spotify analytics and all that, I can see exactly where, the majority of listeners are based. But yeah, I guess to your point with the Raise Rowdy stuff and I've played their rounds and their showcase several times at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um I love it. I think everyone sees me and is expecting country, like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
country as you would describe it now. And it's just not that. So I think that reaction is cool and like
Mm-hmm.
refreshing for some people. Definitely
Yeah.
for me. Like I think it's cool to look out there and just be like, they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
Um so yes and no. I think it takes people by surprise, like you said, but um I kind of love that about it. And then
Yeah.
you kind of weed it out from there. Like, if they're into it, you find out very quickly.
For sure. And I think like I mean, I'm not the first one to ever say this, but standing out, in a at a writers round, being the one guy to stand out, or just in general, being able to stand out among your peers and having that kind of like, oh shit, like this is different. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the name of the game, really. Especially in like you could be a great writer, a great artist in Nashville, but like I feel like if you don't stand out, like it's going to be harder to really get yourself out there. Is that kind of how that goes?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the good comes with the bad, I guess, in that regard. Like if you're if you're there to see, what you would call country at this point, um you may not be that into it, but you may be pleasantly surprised by something a little different. I mean, I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
like my leaps and bounds different than everybody I'm on stage with,
Right.
but it just kind of comes out. It just becomes like a little more obvious that I'm not in that true
Mm-hmm.
vein, like straight down the middle, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's cool. It's been a learning experience for sure, but
Yeah.
I like it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. So do you get out to Nashville a lot? Is that do you ever go out there right? Like what do you usually do when you're out there?
Yeah, so I go out there at least a week out of every month at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just try to play out writers rounds and showcases and whatever, kind of hits my plate, and then in between time I write, as much as possible as well. Um so sort of kind of, getting my footing, or, have gotten my footing in some ways in the co-writing circles. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, thus far, I mean, I've every song that I have, currently recorded and, plan on releasing in this next year, I wrote by myself, but I'm trying to like, kind of change that for the next project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the goal, is just to kind of like meet and write with as many people as possible in the interim.
Okay. So is that like a newer thing for you, co-writing, or was that kind of hard to get into at first? Because when I talk to a lot of these songwriters, I mean, I'd imagine when you first start writing, it's like these are your babies kind of thing, right? These songs
Yeah.
are. So bouncing it off two or three people, I would imagine would be a little like iffy at first.
Yeah, totally. It's well, as of now, I would say like within the last year and a half or so, I've kind of like dove into it, the co-writing thing, more
Mm-hmm.
so than ever. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll put it. I like going into a co-writing room with like no agenda
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. Um, versus like having a song half written and bringing it to somebody. Like I'm at the point now where I'm like trying to see who would be the best fit to like finish this thing out,
Okay.
and try to like be patient and wait on that sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of funny at first,
Mm-hmm.
you hear all the analogies of like speed dating and all that. It is pretty funny. Like it's not every day you like run into somebody in a bar and you're like, pour your heart out to them and to the key of G or whatever.
I never thought of
Um,
it that way. That's crazy.
yeah, it's pretty funny. But as long as like, you're both there to do the same thing, I guess if you look
Hmm.
at it like that, so it
Yeah.
all works out as long as you're, willing to work with someone.
Right. Yeah, man. And this is me just being kind of ignorant to how it works because a lot all the other Ray's Rowdy crew are in Nashville and they know how the whole thing works, and I'm just kind of up here 2 states
Yeah.
away. But when it comes to co-writing and get into a writing room, like what starts that? Is it like networking, like you just run into people at an event? Does someone set it up for you? How does that usually unfold? Like getting in that situation?
Typically, yeah, it's like you meet. Well, if you're in a writer's round, there's normally at least two other writers in the round.
Okay.
And if you kind of, like what they're doing, or, like their lyrics, or, something about what they're bringing to the table, a lot of times I just kind of, I'm either asked if I would like to write or vice versa. So that's a good place to start, honestly, because it's already, the ice is already broken by the fact that you've just sat next to each other and played some songs.
Yeah.
So it's not as like, cold and weird just walking into a room being like, is this dude even any good,
Yeah.
But that, and, old fashioned, like, sliding into the DMs if it's someone
Mhm.
you admire, and I just give it a shot here and there, and kind of see what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's effectively like, it's effectively like approaching a girl you'd like to date. I mean, it really is.
Mhm.
It's like, I really like what you got going on.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I understand what
It
you
really
mean, and
is. As I was
yeah,
talking, I was like, yeah, I guess this is like, yeah,
yeah,
it's how you approach the women too, I guess.
yeah. No Tinder involved.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I guess if you slide in the DMs, it's kind of like Tinder. But anyway, I get what you
Yeah, a
mean.
little bit. Yeah, 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 a little
But
bit.
yeah, and I don't want to keep rambling, but it's just funny because Nick, who I'm assuming you might have met Nick before, Matt, who run Raise Reality, to do the rounds
Yeah,
and
for
stuff.
sure. I
But
know Matt a little better, but yeah, I've met both of them for sure.
yeah, and they've told me like since I started doing Raise Rowdy, it's like I tell them, I'm like, how do you know all these people like of different, different genres, different scenes, everything? And they say it's literally about just showing up, like you said, like to an event, just networking, getting involved and stuff like that. And before you know it, it's like it's crazy how many, I guess, contacts you have, how many like they
Totally.
become friends, some of them. It's really cool how that works, especially in a city like Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a rare place because 90% of the population, that might be overkill, but has the same agenda, more or less.
Mhm.
Like, you're all trying
Yeah.
to get somewhere, or somewhere adjacent to somewhere. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes way more sense to just be open and talk to people there, because nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, either you can do something for them, they can do something for you, or you can collaborate in some way that everywhere else, you know, you got to
Mhm.
have a 30-minute long conversation before you get to
Yeah.
feeling like, this could go somewhere.
Yeah. No, you're right. And
Yeah.
I'd imagine, and on the other side of that, because I mean, you don't live in Nashville, but if you go there a week, a month, you're definitely there a lot.
Yeah, I
So,
feel like I do sometimes, but
yeah. So with that, the good part about like, yeah, everyone's there, they want to do the same thing. Is there ever like not a scary element to it, but like a competitive element when you go in and you're like, all right, like these are all like peers and friends, but also it's like I need to be a little competitive towards like I'm sometimes I wonder what the vibe is because like it's great to be friendly, but also you have to have some kind of like drive. Like I got to be better than this guy to reach this next level. Maybe is that a thing?
maybe to some people, I don't know. I've never really caught that
Mm-hmm.
feeling from anyone. Just because, uh, like, if you're, well, music's, first of all, is so subjective
Mm-hmm.
that, like, in your mind you might think someone's better than you, but
Mm-hmm.
you know there's 1,000 other people over there that do not think that.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. I don't feel that ever really. I think everyone tries to kind of stay in their lane and just kind of lift up each other because,
Hmm.
and particularly if it's someone like you've written with or whatever else, because that only, brings your music and your stuff more attention, you know, through them
Yep.
listening to that or whatever. So yeah, I don't really get that. I get like before going as often as I do now or whatever, I kind of thought that's kind of, what I was going to encounter, but
Hmm.
so far so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just from like just seeing other artists at like rounds, you know, connect with each other just from like a fan point of view, I guess it was surprising because I spent a lot of time in like Texas and Oklahoma, so I got more familiar, I guess, with those out guys and gals out there, and
Yeah.
it just seems like such like a huge like a family almost. And then I was like, and then they're out there they have the Nashville versus Texas thing that I
Sure.
don't think will ever go away. So there a lot of them are like, screw Nashville sometimes. Not all of them, you have those
Yeah.
few. But then I went to Nashville for the first couple of times. I'm like, it's the same damn thing. They're all here for the same thing. They all love each other. They all want to work with each other. It's just such Nashville seems like such a scarier place because that's like where the quote unquote machine is, the
Right.
industry, all that stuff, the big scary words that people like to use,
Right.
which I'm
Right.
sure there's truth to, but it is a pleasant surprise, I think.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about your music, man. That came out. We have, and I feel like an idiot. I can't read my own handwriting. I write down the
You're
songs
not
just so just so I could for sure remember them. But
you're not the
hand me
only one.
down,
Don't worry about it.
yeah, hand me down and understanding. Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So first off, like I said earlier, I love them. They blew me away. Quite frankly, it surprised me, and I listened to it multiple times. I can't wait for what's to come, which we'll get to that too. But
Yeah.
with the release of those, I guess is there any theme or story, anything like behind the song that you might want to share? Either of them, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess I should just say like so yeah, there's so technically I've recorded a 5-song EP as kind of
Hmm.
like my debut solo project. But I'm releasing them as singles to, you know, get the Spotify algorithm going
Yeah,
or
you
whatever
got to. Yeah.
all the people smarter than me tell me to do. So I'm just like, all right. Um, but yeah, so eventually it'll be a cohesive like work of,
Hmm.
EP.
Yep.
I was gonna say work of art. Sound crazy. But so yeah, Understanding was the first one I released back in October. It has less of like a specific story, I guess, but realistically, I was kind of sitting there, and several of my friends like have kind of started getting divorces. Um,
Okay.
and as a relatively young person, it just kind of catches you off guard when your friends are going through it. So
Hmm.
that just kind of started the thought process of like, what could I have done? What did I do? What could I have done differently? That sort of thought is kind of what led me to writing Understanding. Um, just kind of like after the aftermath of kind of thinking back on, you know, action and inaction and how it affected the relationship as a whole sort of deal. Um, and then Hand Me Down, that song is pretty cut and dry, honestly, or at least I kind of wanted it to be lyric wise, but that's more or less about like generational mental health and, coming from a place that was kind of riddled with mental health issues and addiction issues and things of that nature, and then having children of your own and kind of thinking to yourself like it seems like everybody always thinks about the good aspects of themselves, like what they like about themselves, and that they hope they pass those down.
Hmm.
But Hand Me Down was kind of like a revelation. I have a 2-year old son, so I wrote that when my wife was pregnant with him. And that's what kind of got me thinking. I was like, it's sort of where the pessimism and the optimism of having a child kind of met for me, and that was kind of like the thought process behind that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I got you, man. And Hammy, I can't stress enough like that one. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not, a songwriter or anything. But when it comes to like you have the lyrical aspect and then like the rest of it, so like the instrumental aspect of it,
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes like artists can't really mesh them. Like they mesh fine, but like some of them really go like, wow, okay, that it fits the mood, I guess is a
for
hippie
sure.
way of saying it, but it
Yeah,
fits
yeah.
the vibe. But
Yeah.
that was the first thing I thought of. And I was wondering, and obviously you're a songwriter, and do you do you have more of a focus on the lyrical aspect than you do the instrumental stuff? I only asked this because like it really did mesh very well, and I don't know if you like had help from anyone else. I'm curious as
Yeah,
to how that song came to be.
totally. Yeah, so kind of going back to like watching my dad play guitar and him being totally by ear taught, like had zero theory. I'm
Hmm.
like even worse. I don't know what I'm playing. So I say that to say like I definitely like am lyric first, probably.
Hmm.
Occasionally, I'll write off of like a riff that I've just, started playing. But
Hmm.
that's kind of few and far between. So I'm lyric first for sure. And I know in my head how I want it to sound, but like with zero technical or, any background whatsoever on how to make it sound like that. Um, so yeah, we went in the studio and I had a producer and sound engineer, and the band also was kind of like I just kind of like said words. Like I was trying to describe as best as possible like how I envisioned it, and then they just kind of took it and ran with it. So
Hmm.
yes and no. I mean, I like sort of
Yeah.
I know what I don't want it to sound like 100%. That's me. I'm like, no, no, no. But yeah, just kind of having to articulate it and sort of like just make sure we land the plane is sort of
Yeah.
how it goes for me. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that's a huge compliment, obviously, because we
Hmm.
kind of yeah you're worried you get worried in the studio because you're like again if you're like someone like me and you hear it a certain way, and then you're kind of like just having to articulate that to a group of people, and you just hope they
Hmm.
get it right. But yeah, they got it right on all of them, so
Yeah.
it's a good group of
Yeah.
guys.
For sure, man. It's excellent. I wish I had the musical vocabulary to say my questions better. I was just like, the vibe doesn't
No,
really
yeah,
mix,
no,
man.
dude, you're good.
But
That's exactly how I sound in the studio, so no worries.
for awesome. But so who do you record with, and like where do you record? What's that setup like?
Yeah, I recorded at Sound Emporium in
Okay.
Nashville, with Michael Walter is my co-producer and sound engineer. He kind of like double dips. Um, and then I actually recorded the whole EP with Lainey Wilson's touring band.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
yeah, sort of, became friends through, you know, the zeitgeist more or less. And then,
Hmm.
yeah, I had initially been talking to um, Kevin, who's her like auxiliary player. He plays everything. He's phenomenal. Um, and then one thing led to another, and the whole band just was like, "We'll just do it because we play together every day." So I was like,
That's
"Be my
awesome.
guest." Yeah.
Yeah.
So those guys definitely came through for me.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. That's cool to hear. They definitely matched well. It sounds great. So, I guess what can you tell us about what's to come? You said you recorded an EP, releasing them as singles. So, what can you tell us about what we got to look forward to?
Yeah. So next single is most likely going to be released by the end of February.
Hmm.
We're still trying to just like nail down dates and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that one's going to be called "Need I Remind You." Um,
Okay.
it's a love song to kind of break up the sad, soulful blues deals. Um, and yeah, and then I'm forecasting that the entire all 5 songs as a whole will be out, probably by summer of
Okay.
2025. Um, and then yeah, in the meantime, just playing them out as much as possible,
Mhm.
and kind of spreading the word that way. Getting ears and eyes is the name of the game.
For sure, man. I can't wait to hear it, dude. And what about the? I ask this on every interview because I always love seeing the reaction from the guests. So, like with the newfound tool of social media being such a gigantic deal, I feel like a lot of artists take to it very quick. Some of them absolutely hate it. Some of them, a mixture of both. So,
Yeah.
has that been something that you've been able to dive into relatively easy, or what? What's your whole view on the whole TikTok sphere and promoting it on socials and all that?
Yeah, I don't love it. I mean, I didn't like dive in. But it's awesome. I mean, you can't deny the fact that it's like an incredibly useful tool.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I've just found myself kind of like trying to collaborate with as many like, way more talented visual people than
Hmm.
to kind of get my message across. I mean, I'll set up a camera and record me playing a song, no problem. Like that's enjoyable for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like people keep raising the stakes, and like they're gonna start handing out Oscars or something for Instagram Reels or something. But I wish people would chill out. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I don't really, I don't know. I'm not here to like keep up with the Joneses when it comes to like social media type deals.
Yeah.
Um, but I do love it in the fact that it brings people that would never hear you, would never hear of you, basically right to your doorstep. So I can't knock it, but yeah, I'm certainly not like a natural social media, you know,
Yeah.
influencer guy.
Yeah, it seems like a nightmare to deal with. I mean, I kind of do it with my stuff, but I don't have any stakes really. I'm not making music or living off. You know what I mean?
Sure,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like I could throw a meme out there that might get some likes, and that's the end of my day. But like
Yeah,
it
there you
just
go.
it seems like it's a necessary evil, I guess. But that's just the world we're in. Can't just go out and pass flyers out, sell CDs anymore. I
Yeah.
guess unless you go to a show, then you could get the CDs.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's definitely like, you have to adjust your it's just a new part of the business. New-ish,
Yeah.
it's um not new by any means, but like the focus on it from everyone is,
Hmm.
just grows by the day, it seems like. So, um, yeah, I try not to, I certainly don't stress over it. Like, but I do think it's in the back of my mind constantly. I'm like, what? how many days has it been, or whatever. Um,
Right.
but no, it's good. I have some people around me that kind of keep me in check and remind me to
Nice.
throw my
Yeah.
face up there every once in a while.
Yeah. It's good to have a good team on your side, man. But
Yeah.
yeah. Before we head out, man, and by the way, thanks for hopping on. This was fun talking to you. And
Yeah, totally.
before we head out, I guess since it's only January, we got a whole year ahead of us. When it comes to whether it be shows or what you want to put out, anything, do you have any goals in mind that, like, off the top of your head, that you want to accomplish this year? Short term, long term, anything like that?
For sure. Yeah. So, I have, so I'm going to be in Nashville basically the first 2 weeks of March. So there'll
Hmm.
be a bunch of dates, over the span of those 2 weeks that'll, I'll post on social media, speaking of, um, and get those out that way. I don't have them in front of me or I'd spill them out, but,
Hmm.
um, and then, yeah, goal for this year is definitely to kind of expand my footprint. The idea is to start in the Southeast where,
Hmm.
I feel like my market is kind of showing itself. Um, Atlanta, Charlotte, that sort of deal. I'd love to get out to Austin for sure as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, I recently sort of took on a booking agent and we're kind of starting the process of sort of expanding that throughout the Southeast. And then here and there it'll just be random, honestly, because
Mm-hmm.
I get inquiries to, like, I'm supposed to be booking something in Brooklyn pretty soon. Yeah, just bouncing around, doing going where people ask me to go. But hopefully by the end of 2025 it's a more organized logistical, I
Mm-hmm.
hate to say the word tour, but something of that nature.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it with Austin, I think you would probably kill in Texas, just with how everything's like there's not a certain sound in that scene right now. Like it's not just Texas country music. It's like
Yeah,
literally everything that you could really think of that's all just grouped into that market. That might be a good
totally.
idea, man. I feel
Yeah,
like that'd be
I'd
a
love
good
to get out
spot for
there.
you.
Yeah, I'd love to get out
Yeah.
there. I've been to Austin several times, and it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
feels like somewhere I could, get up on stage and make an impression, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure, man. But Alex, thanks a lot again for hopping on. Before we leave, though, if you have any like shows or any, say those dates again too for the upcoming couple singles. You said February, I believe, but I'll let you have the floor. So, if you have anything to plug, anything coming up, the floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. So Need I Remind You is going to be the next single.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have a firm date, honestly, but we're hoping for by the end of February. So in the
Mm-hmm.
next few weeks. Um, and then, yeah, I'll have to pull it up. I'm in Nashville the first 2 weeks of March. I'm playing the Listening Room on March 4th. I do know that,
Mm,
which is a big writers round.
yeah.
I'm excited about. And then there'll be a bunch of dates within those 2 weeks. I just don't have them in front of me right now. So definitely
Mm-hmm.
like follow along on Instagram is where those will kind of be, and my website, obviously. But yeah, that's really it. I wish I had them in front of me, but I don't.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
So
Well, hold on. I think I actually
I'm a
have them on my
logistical
phone here.
nightmare.
Hold on. I think I have them right here, dude. I'm not even lying. There's on your website, right? Those all updated.
Yeah, I don't
All
know.
right. Let me
To be
see.
honest with you.
All right, these are from October, November, so they're not. So
Oh, see, there you
we'll
go.
just, I'll just say this:
Uh,
everyone follow Alex and keep
yeah.
up with this shit. God damn it!
Yeah, exactly. Stay tuned. Yeah, everything is Alex Rogers Music.
Mhm.
Instagram, TikTok. That's pretty much all I use. Yeah.
Right on. Right on. So, Alex, thanks for hopping on. This is a fun conversation. Everyone, make sure to follow him on all the socials. Definitely listen to his music he has out. I can't tell you guys enough. Like it was, I was really impressed by it. I think you guys will be too. Also, check out Ray's Rowdy, Rowdy Alternative. We're on all the socials. Just Google us, we'll pop up. So, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.